Hello, welcome to Home on the Hill. So I just wanted to explain, I guess, why there wasn't a video for Summer Solstice and how I'm changing things. So I did make a piece of video for Summer Solstice, and I walked around the garden holding the camera in front of me in that kind of, I'll just say what I see kind of way, which I've done before and been perfectly happy with. But I guess as my video editing and whatever skills improve. Anyway, I bought the video up here to my office to video it. And what I would normally do is just kind of watch it through first, make sure I don't fluff my words or say anything stupid, and then kind of work out which bits I want to use and where to cut it, and then I actually do the editing. And so I watched it, and it brought on a really vicious dizzy spell. I felt so sick. It was actually only about 8:30 in the evening, and I went to bed and went to sleep because I felt really just sick and dizzy, and I couldn't do anything, couldn't look at the television, couldn't knit, couldn't do anything. And, I think it was brought on by the kind of the wobbly camera work. So it just occurred to me, I know I don't have a huge amount of viewers and a massive following, and I certainly don't think that the camera work's the only reason for that. A huge part of it is that I don't really do any marketing. But anyway, yeah, I just kind of thought, well, it's certainly not helping, is it, if my videos are making people feel sick? So, and I'd filmed that at Summer Solstice on like the 21st or 22nd of June. And this was early July that I was editing it. It's the 19th of July today. And I just thought, well, I don't know what to do now. I can't use that. It's past the solstice. And I thought, let's take this opportunity, because what I'd really like to do is actually, rather than film, what I tend to do is film the video on the festival, so on the solstice or on Lughnasadh or the equinox or whatever. And then it takes me, a couple of weeks, 10 days, whatever, to get round, depending what else I've got on, to get round to editing that and actually releasing it. So it says it's the Summer Solstice video, but it's released, it might be as late as the 14th, 15th of July. So I thought, well, let's take this opportunity. We've messed that up. Don't worry about it. I'll actually start the filming a little bit earlier, take this opportunity to readjust the schedule so that hopefully this video can be released on or around Lughnasadh, the 1st of August. So that's why I'm filming today, the 19th of July. I've just been in the garden and filmed some footage with me in front of the camera. And part of the reason I've not done this before is because I've stood in front of the camera and talked to it, and if I move too far away, you can't hear me, and the wind kind of messes it up and so on. But I've actually just experimented with putting my earphones in, which have got a microphone on them. They're sort of Bluetooth earphones. And so we'll see how that works. Hopefully it'll be a bit better. I am kind of aware that other more professional YouTubers than me have clip-on microphones and all sorts of kit. But I guess I'm quite anti-consumerist. I don't like to go and buy stuff until I'm really sure that I need it. So if I do need to get some of that kind of stuff, then I absolutely will. Quite happy to kind of spend a little bit of money on this project, but I'm not buying something that I'm not sure that I need. So we'll try this and see how it goes. And my plan for this bed here was that I was going to put leeks in here. Leeks. I really struggle to grow leeks. My leeks are pathetic. They're sort of really thin and spindly. They're in the greenhouse. And then I had an online conversation with Jazz from Alternative Smallholding, and just kind of realised I'm sowing them way too late. I sowed my leeks mid-April. They were a bit pathetic and useless, so then I sowed some more 2 weeks later. And Jazz actually is sowing hers in February. And I thought, that's what I need to do. I need to sow them at the same time as the tomatoes. So put the leeks on the list for early sowing. So my leek bed then got transformed into my sweet corn bed, and the sweet corn, as you can see, is doing pretty well. It's maybe nearly knee high. Generally would be harvesting this probably September, late September. This is a variety called Double Standard, which came from real seeds, which means it's open pollinated and I can save the seeds. I've got some more sweet corn down in the forest garden, which is an F1 super sweet variety. So I can't save the seeds, and B, I just wanted to separate it from this so that hopefully we don't get too much cross-pollination. I think as we speak, just see the first corn beginning to form, so that's good news. So yeah, so that's my sweet corn bed there. In the middle here I have got this enormous lemon balm. I've left it there because I really like lemon balm, but actually I want to relocate it over to that side between here and the chicken run, and I'm working on redoing that. That's my kind of current project. It's very slow, but you know, little bit by little bit, and this kind of extended working from home. So two things have changed for me. In the past I would have worked maybe 3 days a week in the office and 2 days at home, but I also worked long hours so that I could build up enough time to get a day off every month. So obviously we've had the lockdown, the stay-at-home orders. I'm now working from home full-time, except I'm not full-time anymore. Nothing to do with the COVID pandemic, something that's been on the cards for a long time, but I'm now working just 4 days a week. So I don't have to do the long days because I'm not trying to build up hours to get a day off every now and then, because I get every Friday off, which is brilliant. So I've got a lot more time to spend in the garden, and I'm at home a lot more. There's no signs that I work for a public health organisation. We are not going back to the office in any big hurry. I think probably I'm bottom of the list anyway, because I don't particularly want to go back. I hot desk, I don't have a desk on my own, and I have to get on public transport to get there. I get on the train. So I'm probably not going back till maybe October or November before I see an office again at the earliest. So that's great. It means I've got a lot more time to spend doing projects like the herb garden. Hopefully, at some point, I can actually move this lemon balm that's in the middle of the patch. For now, and the next bed we can see is my beans. So these are climbing French beans, doing really well. This variety up to about here. This one's right up to the top, which is great. I really want to improve my seed sowing this year. That's one of my ambitions. So what I've done and been quite careful about is to make sure that there's one variety on this tripod. There's one variety on this, I should say, wigwam. It's not a tripod, is it? There's 5 poles on this wigwam. And I actually yesterday spent a few minutes just detangling a bean that had kind of drifted from one wigwam to the other. I don't think I can say that word properly. And putting it round the right sticks. So hopefully I can then save some seeds from those, and they'll come pretty true. The next bed I'm going to talk about just quickly before I relocate the camera. So this is my dahlia bed. Dahlia flower just down here. I'm really pleased with this. I planted these last year, dug them up in the autumn and overwintered them in the greenhouse, which is not something I've done before. I've never tried to do that. I've always just left dahlias in the ground and covered them in straw, thinking that, you know, I'm in the English Midlands, it's a south-facing slope, we don't get very severe winters, and for the most part, well, yeah, I kind of thought it should work. It's worked sometimes, but it's really not very reliable. I think, no, we don't get very cold winters, but we do get some really wet ones, and I've lost a lot of dahlias over the probably 3 or 4 years I've been doing that. So last year I dug these up, kept them in the greenhouse, planted them out again in the spring, and I'm absolutely delighted to say that it has worked. There's supposed to be a dahlia on each stick. I think I've lost one at the end due to slugs, but the rest are doing brilliantly. And just yesterday I was doing some weeding, so I'd weeded these 2 beds and I'm halfway through that bed, and I shall finish that off later today. So that's my dahlias. So this bed is next to the sweet corn bed. And I don't know, you can't see it terribly well, but it's my salad bed. So I've got some lettuces in the end there, which I'm still picking from on a cut and come again. Charles Dowding said you only need to plant lettuces 3 times a year. And this is the second sowing, which isn't quite ready yet, but I guess I'm still picking mostly from the first sowing, although some of it's gone to seed. And this you can see here, this is a lettuce that's gone to seed, and as part of my seed sowing experiments, never saved seed from lettuce before. I think when it's gone to seed in the past, it's gone too late in the year. So actually I realised I didn't even know what the flowers look like. I've never seen a lettuce flower, so that tells you that I was probably doing it wrong. So yeah, this is just starting to get some flowers on it, so hopefully I'll be collecting those seeds before too long. So what we have here is there's a little bit of lettuce that's from the second sowing, but I've got some more lettuces that I sowed last week and spinach in the greenhouse to fill these gaps. So hopefully I can keep that going. I'm not going to push through the lemon balm again. I'm going to walk. So this is my courgette bed. Yeah, it's not great. You can see from there. There's actually 2 courgette plants in here. They're still relatively small. I was probably a bit late. I didn't feel like I was late, but compared to other people, and I've seen other people online sort of in the middle of a courgette plant, and I'm clearly not there yet. I haven't had any fruit. Originally I put in 4 plants, and then they all got eaten by slugs. But the bed it's covered in, there's horse muck on here, but also I'd mulched it with straw, and then all the courgettes that I put in, the first 4 got eaten, and so I removed all the straw because I think that's brilliant slug habitat. And then I put 4 more courgettes in, and 2 have made it. One's looking very poorly, and one's completely had it. So I clearly have some slug issues. I do use the environmentally friendly, the organic slug pellets, but you know, nothing's guaranteed in this world, is it? So again, something I'm really working on this year is keeping really copious notes and writing down all my kind of ideas and thoughts. And something I've written down in that list is that for every courgette plant you want, plant 5 or 6 seeds. So hopefully that's something else I can improve on. And then behind me, these are my potatoes. So they were organic seed potatoes from the Heart of England Organic Group Potato Day back in February, when we were allowed to do such things. They're main crops, so on the end are some Charcot Axona. Carolus, I think, is most of them. And then I had some, I think it was Maris Bard, but an early in the end. So the earlies have been harvested and eaten, and the main crop I probably won't harvest until I tend to have a couple of weeks leave in September, and that'll probably be when I harvest those. So they're doing fine. But again, another thought for next year is that I'm probably not going to bother growing potatoes again. They take up a whole bed, which I could probably use better for something like squash, something more high value, because potatoes are relatively cheap. I don't eat a great deal of them. I'm rather liking this. I'm thinking it's making my garden look good. And I don't know if the microphone's picking it up, but I can hear the neighbours the other side of the fence. I think there's a car park just over there, and I can hear people working on their cars and their music. And I kind of feel like, you know, to be a proper video YouTube person, I should be annoyed about that. But I like it. I like that, you know, I live in a town, and I can hear my neighbours, and I can hear people using the outdoor space. So that's great. Anyway, what's going on here is a rather weedy, but I shall sort that out later today. This is another climbing French bean setup. I've got much more of this variety of bean. They're the Trail of Tears. They came from real seeds. And again, I've got these separate from the other ones so that hopefully I can save some seed. You can see in here, this is a foxglove that's self-seeded, but I just thought it's so lovely that I left it. And also some nasturtiums, which I think came in with the compost, so I'd spread my homemade compost on here. Nasturtium seeds, which I left some of, but they're rather taking over, so I might have to cut that back a little bit, although they are a brilliant salad crop, so we shall see. And on the end here, I like to have calendula on the ends. But what had happened here, I think it had probably got swamped by the whatever I'd grown in here last year. So there's loads of it self-seeding in the gravel paths, but it wasn't growing in the end there. So I saved some seed anyway, and I've grown some calendula, and that's looking really healthy on the end there. So that is good. This next bed, with a sort of low frame and a net, that's my strawberry bed. The strawberries were absolutely brilliant, but we've eaten them, or I've eaten them for breakfast. So throughout June, I was feasting on those. So I think something I need to do now is get the net off, get it weeded, and loads of runners appearing. So pot up some of those runners. I had loads of runners potted up this year actually, which were intended for the later season seed swaps, plant swaps. But obviously they didn't happen. But we have started up doing some community gardening again at a herb bed in town. And although it's supposed to be a herb bed, we just thought we'd just try and fill it. So I took the strawberry runners that I had, I only had about 2 dozen, and they got planted a couple of weeks ago, and they're looking really good. Yeah, the herb bed's right in the middle of town, and it is kind of prone a little bit to late night drunks, and all the kind of problems that come with that. And some people have been quite dismissive and kind of said, I don't know why you bother looking after this or working on this. Who wants to collect herbs from this bed that people sort of, urinate in and all kinds of antisocial behaviour. And also it's right by a road, a busy road. And I kind of get it, but I also think, but it's because it's by a busy road and because it's in the middle of town, it's really high profile, and that's why we bothered to look after it. So we'll see how that develops. At the moment, not many people pick the herbs, and we could probably improve the signage and maybe some information about washing them well. But I kind of think it's probably not too dangerous. I don't know, maybe we need to do some research about that. But anyway, that's my strawberry bed, and that's what needs to happen next. The next bed over is quite a mess. So what's happened here? Originally, I think I had asparagus in it, and it didn't really work. Never managed to grow asparagus successfully, but of course, after I decided that's not working, I'll get rid of it. One asparagus plant survives and throws up massive ferns. There's some rhubarb in the end, which one of the plants was brilliantly, one of them less so, and then an awful lot of sorrel. Sorrel's great, it's a perennial plant, perennial vegetable, but we don't really eat it. I don't quite know what to do with it. So I thought I shall relocate the sorrel down into the forest garden, because with the forest garden I'm less bothered about kind of getting a harvest particularly. If we don't eat it, something will, and it all looks pretty. There's loads of space down there. So I'm going to get rid of the sorrel from this veg bed and actually fill it with rhubarb. I haven't got enough rhubarb. I love rhubarb, definitely. What we need is more rhubarb. So again, that's another project, I guess, for this winter or next spring, is to do that. Okay. Last 3 beds in the vegetable garden, and we're looking the other way now. So I put the camera at the bottom, and I'm looking up. So the things you can see in the foreground, those beautiful purple flowers, they are gorgeous. They're my globe artichokes. So I took a small crop off them. I've eaten sort of 2 or 3 of the flowers. My husband really doesn't like them, but I love them. But they're quite fiddly and quite a delicacy. So I've enjoyed a few of them, and then I just thought, they're a fantastic flower, and the bees love them, and they're gorgeous. So I've just left them now to go to flower. Whether that's the best thing to do for the plants or not, I'm not really sure. I probably need to look that up. But quite frankly, if I have to replant every year so I get a few flowers to eat and then let them have these fantastic flowers, well, that's fine by me. I'm stood behind, this is a fruit cage that had the red currants in it. So these here are red currant bushes. And just last week I took the harvest off them, so I sat down and picked every last red currant, so lifted the nets, took all the red currants. The nets are to protect them from birds, so insects can still get in. There's still a net on here behind insects can get in to pollinate, but it stops the birds taking fruit. So yeah, collected all the red currants, had absolutely loads. I don't weigh my produce, so I can't tell you, but it was a lot of fruit, which is all gone into the freezer. And what I tend to use that for, so most mornings, particularly while I'm at work, I have a bowl of muesli with some yoghurt and then throw some fruit on it. So frozen red currants, absolutely yummy. So there'll be a sort of something that I'll be eating through the winter. I've also got in here as well, I left some calendula plants, so I like to have some flowers underneath the currants, just to encourage pollinators because it looks pretty. But there's not just calendula, that's right. I also had in this bed poached eggplant, which looked great in about April, May time, but it was mostly confined to that end, so I'm hoping that I can get that to self-seed and spread a little bit. So this needs weeding, and that is a job that I'm going to get done later today. And the final bed behind me, this is the black currant bed. Still got the net on because I haven't got round to dealing with it yet. I don't think the black currant harvest has been great. Yeah, I haven't really kind of got stuck right in there, but I can't see many through the net, and I don't know if that's because there's too much other stuff growing, because I know other people have had a good harvest. So yeah, I need to lift the net, have a look for the harvest, do the weeding, and then that will be that sorted. So there's a lot to do, a lot of weeding to do, great harvests to come from the sweet corn and the beans, the dahlias are just starting up, the potatoes, the salads, the courgettes obviously will come soon. The soft fruits mostly finished, the artichokes are finished, the rhubarb's finished. But yeah, that's where we are in mid-July. I was just going to stop and say, I generally have not enjoyed this time of year. Yeah, I kind of feel like once it gets into August, I'm a bit like, oh, come on, I've had enough now, let's have some autumn weather. I love September, I love October, they're my favourite times of year. And I kind of stopped and analysed this and thought, well, this is silly, you do all this work for the veg garden, and this is when the harvest is just really starting to flow in, and you should really be enjoying it, enjoying the fruits of your labour. And I thought, well, you know what it is, a lot of the time I look at things that have gone wrong and I focus on what's gone wrong and go, oh God, I'm rubbish. And I've made a real conscious effort to try not to do that, to look at what's gone well. So yeah, my courgettes are a bit rubbish. My leeks didn't work. That's the negative. But the positive is the sweet corn's come in, the beans, we've had loads of strawberries, we've had lots of red currants. Okay, the black currants maybe not so great. But yeah, just making a more conscious effort to find the glad, and I find that I'm enjoying this time of year a lot more at the moment. Maybe that's partly as well about being at home more and finding time to do it. Obviously I'm not going out in the evenings at all, but also because I'm not going off to Birmingham, when I finish work at 5 o'clock I can come straight in the garden, and I'm not feeling like, oh, I'm quite tired, cycle to work, and I've been with all these people all day. I do find people in quite hard work. So yeah, things seem a lot more positive on that front this year. So that's probably enough feed now for the rest of the summer, because I've basically got 3 of these 5-litre containers full. And I think I've probably made the feed 2 or 3 times, something like that. So quite pleased with that. There's a little bit left. Only a little bit though, half a litre. I go straight on the compost. So that's it, comfrey feed. I have made time during this time at home to read a couple of books, which I got from my local bookshop, I should say. I'll just give them a bit of a plug. So they gave me a very nice bookmark. So this is Hunt's Bookshop, which is in Rugby. And I don't know if they're still doing it, but certainly in the lockdown they were doing free delivery. So you sort of messaged them, told them what you wanted, paid for it, and they brought it round to you a couple of days later, which I thought was an excellent service. And one of the books that I ordered was this Garden Jungle by Dave Goulson. And you can see from the bookmark there that I'm only about halfway through. But I'm so enjoying it. It's such a good book that I thought I'd just sort of witter a piece to camera about it. So I really recommend this for all gardeners and anybody who's got even a passing interest in insects. And I have now got all kinds of anecdotes and strange stories to tell people. Did you know that earwigs can fly? They just don't bother. What a strange thing. I was also fascinated by the moths chapter. I am really tempted to set up a moth trap and get up early and have a look at that. There's a moth in the UK where the female spends its life cycle under the water of a pond and the male's life cycle is above the pond, and they only meet at the water's surface to mate. How weird is that? Very strange. So that's my recommendation anyway. It's called The Garden Jungle by Dave Goulson. I haven't finished yet, but it's an excellent read and I really recommend it.